Market Mantra, Market Mantra, Market Mantra, Market Mantra, Market Mantra, Market Mantra, Mantra.
This is Akashvani. Good evening and welcome to this edition of Market Mantra, in which we give you a complete update on the economic, business and stock market news of the day. I am Gaurang Dhawan Lal and with me is my co-anchor in Hindi, Vishal Sharma.
नमस्कार, मार्केट मंत्र में आप सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत। अगले आधे घंटे तक हम लाएंगे आप तक आर्थिक, व्यापारिक और शेयर बाजार की ताज़ा खबरें, साथ ही उन पर चर्चा भी करेंगे। चर्चा के लिए आज स्टूडियो में आमंत्रित हैं वरिष्ठ आर्थिक पत्रकार सिद्धार्थ सिंह। सिद्धार्थ सिंह जी, कार्यक्रम में आपका स्वागत।
नमस्कार।
और सबसे पहले हेडलाइंस के साथ हैं गौरा धवन लाल।
Thank you, Vishal, and Siddharth, welcome to the program. A quick look at the headlines. Union Cabinet approves nutrition-based subsidy for Rabi season 2023-24. Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs approves inclusion of Jamrani Dam multipurpose project of Uttarakhand under Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. And key domestic indices end in the red. Sensex closes below 64,050 mark. Nifty ends below 19,130 level.
केंद्रीय मंत्रिमंडल ने रबी सीजन 2023-24 के लिए पोषण आधारित सब्सिडी दरों को मंजूरी दी। आर्थिक मामलों की मंत्रिमंडलीय समिति ने उत्तराखंड की जमरानी बांध बहुउद्देशीय परियोजना को प्रधानमंत्री कृषि सिंचाई योजना के अंतर्गत शामिल करने को स्वीकृति दी। और प्रमुख घरेलू शेयर बाजारों में गिरावट दर्ज। सेंसेक्स 64,050 के निशान से नीचे हुआ बंद और निफ्टी 19,130 के स्तर से नीचे आया। कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत मंत्रिमंडल के फैसलों से। सरकार ने फॉस्फेटिक और पोटाश उर्वरकों पर रबी मौसम 2023-24 के लिए पोषण आधारित सब्सिडी दरों को स्वीकृति दे दी है। ये इस वर्ष 1 अक्टूबर से अगले वर्ष 31 मार्च तक लागू रहेंगी। मंत्रिमंडल की बैठक के बाद संवाददाता सम्मेलन में केंद्रीय सूचना और प्रसारण मंत्री अनुराग ठाकुर ने बताया कि नाइट्रोजन के लिए पोषण आधारित सब्सिडी 47 रुपये 2 पैसे प्रति किलो, फॉस्फोरस के लिए 20 रुपये 82 पैसे प्रति किलो और पोटाश के लिए 2 रुपये 38 पैसे प्रति किलो होगी। उन्होंने कहा कि पोषण आधारित सब्सिडी पर 22,303 करोड़ रुपए का खर्च होने की उम्मीद है। इससे किसानों को किफ़ायती और उचित दामों पर उर्वरक उपलब्ध हो सकेंगे। सिद्धार्थ जी, सबसे पहले यही जानना चाहेंगे कि किसानों के हित के लिए एक और सरकार का फैसला है, ये राहत भरी खबर है किसानों के लिए।
हाँ बिल्कुल विशाल, आप ठीक कह रहे हैं। और जो ये पॉलिसी रही है, कंसिस्टेंट पॉलिसी है। एक बार अगर हम बोलें, ये न्यूट्रिएंट बेस्ड सब्सिडीज़ को हम बोलते हैं, ये 2010 में ये स्कीम शुरू की गई थी। और इसका जो मेन मकसद था कि ये था कि सॉइल पे जो है एक्सेसिव यूरिया का जो इस्तेमाल है वो घटे और न्यूट्रिएंट बेस्ड जिस तरह के न्यूट्रिएंट की ज़रूरत हो सॉइल को, उसी का प्रयोग किसान करे। और सरकार का ये क्लियर कट पॉलिसी थी कि इसको हम उस तरह से प्रोत्साहन देंगे और किसानों पर इसका बोझ ना पड़े। क्योंकि पिछले आप देखेंगे जब से कोविड आया, कोविड के बाद सडनली जो फर्टिलाइज़र की प्राइजेस थी, दुनिया भर में उर्वरक की जो कीमतें थी उनमें बहुत तेज़ उछाल आया था। और मुझे अगर सही याद हो तो पिछले 1-2 सालों में सरकार ने 2 लाख करोड़ से ज़्यादा की जो है सब्सिडी उर्वरक पे दी है, फर्टिलाइज़र पे दी है किसानों को। और ये सरकार का इसमें बिल्कुल क्लियर कट जो है पॉलिसी है। इस साल भी हमने जो बजट में अनुमान किया है सब्सिडी, जो फर्टिलाइज़र के ऊपर सब्सिडी, वो तकरीबन 1,75,000 करोड़ है। तो सरकार का ये कहना है कि जो किसानों को जिस कीमत पे जो है उर्वरक मिलता रहा है, चाहे वो DAP हो या NKP हो, तो उसकी कीमत में कोई बदलाव नहीं होगा। अगर कोई भरपाई करनी है कीमतों में जो बढ़त आई है या अगर आती है आने वाले टाइम में, तो उसकी भरपाई सरकार करेगी।
जी, खरीफ सीजन के लिए भी सरकार ने 1,08,000 करोड़ रुपए की सब्सिडी की घोषणा की थी उर्वरकों पर। उर्वरकों पर जो सब्सिडी आपने भी कहा कि बढ़ती जा रही है लगातार, क्या कारण है कि हम उर्वरकों के आयात पर निर्भर हैं क्या हमारे देश में इसका निर्माण नहीं हो सकता? उर्वरकों का जानना चाहेंगे।
बहुत अच्छा सवाल विशाल, और इस पर सरकार ने काम किया है। अगर आप ध्यान देंगे तो पिछले 10-15 सालों में हमारे यहाँ नए उर्वरक प्लांट्स चालू हुए हैं, नए कारखाने, और वो भी हमने गैस बेस्ड प्लांट्स हैं। तो वो अभी धीरे धीरे हमारी जो फर्टिलाइज़र प्रोडक्शन की जो कैपेसिटी है उसमें भी जो है इन्हांसमेंट हुआ है, बढ़त आई है। हाँ, ये ज़रूर है, क्योंकि फिर वही जो मैं बार बार कहता हूँ कि एकदम से आपको ये रातों रात तो नहीं होगा, लेकिन हमारा इस पर जो है ज़ोर, पूरी तरह से ज़ोर है। हम चाहते हैं कि इम्पोर्ट हम कम करें और वही उर्वरक का इस्तेमाल हमारा किसान करे, जिससे कि उसकी जो सॉइल कंडीशन है उसको भी नुकसान ना हो, उसकी जो प्रोडक्शन है वो भी बढ़े, प्रोडक्टिविटी भी बढ़े, और उस पर किसी तरह का कीमतों का भी भार ना पड़े, क्योंकि अगर कीमतों का भार उस पर आएगा तो किसान के ऊपर उसका मतलब बोझ जो है, एक्सेसिव बोझ आएगा।
जी, रासायनिक उर्वरकों को क्या जैविक खाद से हम रिप्लेस कर सकें? इस स्थिति में हम पहुंच सकते हैं कभी आने वाले समय में?
विशाल, आप एक बात बताइए कि आपको ये भी तो देखिए आपकी खपत कितनी है, मतलब जो आपकी प्रोडक्टिविटी है, प्रोडक्शन है, या चाहे भी गेहूं या चावल, जो भी खाद्य पदार्थ है, तो उनकी मांग में भी तो लगातार बढ़ोतरी हो रही है। तो केवल जैविक जो है खाद पे, जो है फर्टिलाइज़र पे अगर हम कोशिश करें कि उस लेवल पर प्रोडक्शन कर पाएंगे, मुझे लगता नहीं कि वो पॉसिबल है। ज़रूर आज इसके तरफ भी एक शुरुआत हुई है, हो भी रहा है, मतलब बहुत लार्ज स्केल नहीं है, बट और दूसरा क्या होता है कि जब आप जैविक की बात कर रहे हैं तो आप ये भी देखेंगे कि उसकी जो कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन है अपने आप बढ़ जाती है। तो क्या वो एक आम आदमी तक जो है उसके जो है एक्सेस, उस तरह के जो जैविक प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, तो उनकी एक्सेस भी उसके आम आदमी तक उसको पहुंचाना आसान नहीं है। कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन बढ़ जाती है, तो और उसको लार्ज स्केल पे करना आसान नहीं है।
Right. I think this is a very important point, this cost of production. And if you recall some time back, the Prime Minister had also stressed that we would like farmers to produce organic, food items, because the price in the market, and there is a huge demand across the world also. So to maintain this balance between organic and also affordability, and I think that's somewhere, because there is a lot of headroom for organic cultivation also to increase in the country.
Absolutely, there is headroom, there is space, and there is also demand for such, because people have become more and more health conscious. People are ready to pay. But yes, if we are looking at from a common man point of view, obviously, and feeding a large population like India, so overnight it won't be possible to move to a purely organic fertilizers. So we would need to be dependent on these kind of fertilizers, and that is why this support from the government is there consistently. Government also has changed its policy. We have to discourage excessive use of urea because it's causing harm to the soil. So that is why in 2010 we brought this policy of nutrient based subsidy. So whatever nutrient is necessary for the soil, only that is used, and it is to discourage unnecessary excessive use of fertilizer.
So I think this whole thing about linking, and we of course later on have a story about irrigation and we'll talk about that. So to increase productivity, to put lesser strain on groundwater resources, how do we make sure that we use modern methodologies and better crop production? So, and as you said, the gestation period is required. Of course, there's a crop period, but they're also changing habits, changing infrastructure, and looking at the economics of that. We move on to our next story. The government has also approved a memorandum of cooperation, MOC, between India and Japan on the Japan-India Semiconductor Supply Chain Partnership. The MOC intends to strengthen cooperation between India and Japan towards the enhancement of the semiconductor supply chain and recognizing the importance of semiconductors for the advancement of industries and digital technologies. The MOC shall come into effect from the date of signature of the parties and shall remain in force for a period of 5 years. In July, Siddharth, the team had come from Japan and conversations had started around this. Just taking a step back and moving a little historical, though not very far, back, the Russia-Ukraine war had actually set up a semiconductor crisis. Major dependence globally was in Taiwan, and India also struggled for some time, and the stock market also, to link it, responded to that thing. So this is a move for India to collaborate and become more independent.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And if I can take you a little more, if you go back a little more, you would recall when COVID hit us. At that point in all time, also there was a crisis. We had faced a semiconductor crisis, whether it was the credit cards whether it was production of cars, so or mobile phones. So semiconductor, and the most important part about semiconductor, it's not easy. It's a very niche thing, very small but a very niche. So it's not something that you can do overnight. It's a very high, I think technology is very highly technology intensive. So and that is why India is scouting. I think we have one or two players. If I'm not wrong, I think Vedanta has announced that they would be within a year setting up a facility in India. So India is majorly focusing, because even today, if we look back, there is a backlog in terms of production of cars. So there is a long gestation, long queue for people have to wait. So the reason behind is because the semiconductor chips which are used in the cars. So that is the critical part, and that is why I think we are collaborating with Japan. We're looking for as many partners as possible. I think recently, I think that the president of Taiwan was in India, or we had Prime Minister Modi met him, I think somewhere in one of the bilaterals or some meeting, where they have also promised to come up in a big way and kind of collaborate with India, help India set up manufacturing facilities also in India.
And also it's, this requires cutting edge technology, because technology is changing so fast. And I think the more diversified and the more we're scouting out, so we're probably, right at, it's a sunrise industry for the new technology of the new microchip and the new semiconductors. So I think an advantage in that way also.
Absolutely, and we have to do it. It's like there is no way we can survive without, because these critical areas where which are the future.
Right.
So you need this kind of chip, which is most critical in the entire scheme of things, whether it is production of cars, because the entire thing doesn't work without a chip, microchip, whether it is mobile phones or credit cards. So we had all seen it. We had gone for even getting credit card, it was, banks were saying there was a shortage of chips. So there's a long gestation. So I think, and the government of India has recognized this, that this is something which is critical to us, and I think that is why there's so much of emphasis on this, and I am sure we should see a breakthrough soon in this.
Right.
आर्थिक मामलों पर मंत्रिमंडलीय समिति ने उत्तराखंड के जमरानी बांध बहुउद्देशीय परियोजना को प्रधानमंत्री कृषि सिंचाई योजना त्वरित सिंचाई लाभ कार्यक्रम के अंतर्गत शामिल करने को स्वीकृति दे दी है। परियोजना को पूरा करने के लिए उत्तराखंड को 1557 करोड़ रुपए से अधिक की केंद्रीय सहायता को मंजूरी दी गई है। 2584 करोड़ रुपए से अधिक की अनुमानित लागत वाली ये परियोजना मार्च 2028 में पूरी होगी। इस परियोजना का उद्देश्य उत्तराखंड के नैनीताल जिले में रामगंगा की सहायक नदी गोला पर जमरानी गांव के निकट बांध का निर्माण करना है। इससे उत्तराखंड के नैनीताल और ऊधम सिंह नगर जिलों तथा उत्तर प्रदेश के रामपुर और बरेली जिलों में 57,065 हेक्टेयर भूमि पर अतिरिक्त सिंचाई हो सकेगी।
So again, coming to this point about irrigation, and we also know that the irrigation availability on the facilities have increased, but the demand for that, more and more land is coming under cultivation, and I think water requirement is increasing. Climate change is also, a lot of areas are struggling with all that, and this is a deficit which we're trying to bridge. So in terms of improving agricultural facilities, reach and access, how far do you think such schemes go?
No, these schemes, I think the first and the foremost is it reduces our dependence on the monsoons. So I think, which is essentially, we have been a country which has been a lot dependent on monsoon. We still continue to be largely dependent on monsoon, because monsoon, each time we see the rains are deficient, so our crop production suffers. So I think in that endeavor, I think we are continuously trying to provide this kind of consistency, stability in terms of irrigation facilities to our farmers. And if we look at the area currently, which is today we've been announced, I think a great part of it is also already a big agriculture bowl of India. It's a big part. It is basically in Hindi we call it Tarai region.
Tarai.
So this is, I think, this and to give that fillip and consistency to our, and there are large land holdings in this area. So they are major wheat and rice producers, and these are people who have also shifted, I think most of them from Punjab to this area, and they are big farmers. So I think it is a step in that direction, continuously giving a fillip and assuring them of assured irrigation facilities.
जी, और धान की फसल के लिए हम जानते हैं सभी की ज़्यादा पानी की ज़रूरत होती है सिंचाई के लिए उसमें, और उसके लिए जो ग्राउंड वाटर जो किसान इस्तेमाल करते हैं, भूमिगत जल का जो इस्तेमाल करते हैं, और भूमिगत जल स्तर उससे नीचे भी गिर रहा है, उसमें भी कहीं ना कहीं उस समस्या को भी एड्रेस करने में इस परियोजना से मदद मिलने वाली है।
बिल्कुल विशाल, आप बिल्कुल ठीक कह रहे हैं। अगर वो डैम जिस तरह के जो निर्माण हम कर रहे हैं, उसका एक मकसद ये भी है कि अगर जो हमारे किसान को एक अश्योर्ड सप्लाई होगी इरिगेशन की, पानी की, तो वो फिर ग्राउंड वाटर पे उसकी डिपेंडेंस अपने आप ही घट जाएगी, स्वाभाविक है। और ये एरिया हमारा तराई एरिया, हालांकि यहाँ पे ग्राउंड वाटर बहुत नीचे नहीं है अभी भी, इसीलिए इसको हम जो बोलते भी हैं वो तराई रीजन इसीलिए बोला जाता है, ये इसीलिए फर्टाइल भी है। और तो इसी वजह से, हालांकि लेकिन फिर भी सरकार की ये मकसद है, क्योंकि ये एक अच्छा एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूसिंग एरिया है, तो उसको जो है किसी मतलब जो है और सपोर्ट इरिगेशन की फैसिलिटीज़ को बेहतर करके दिया जाए।
I think a very valid point you made, that these are large farm holdings and they don't suffer from the fragmented small holdings, which the problems that are there. So an X amount of input or effort in this area, the multiplier effect of the result will be so much more, right? Absolutely.
बात करते हैं शेयर बाजारों की। वैश्विक शेयर बाजारों से प्राप्त मिले जुले संकेतों के बीच प्रमुख घरेलू शेयर बाजार आज भी गिरावट के साथ बंद हुए। बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज का सेंसेक्स 64,050, जबकि नेशनल स्टॉक एक्सचेंज का निफ्टी 19,130 के स्तर से नीचे बंद हुए। सेंसेक्स 0.81% की गिरावट से 523 अंक लुढ़क कर 64,049 पर बंद हुआ। निफ्टी भी 0.83% के नुकसान से 160 अंक गिरकर 19,122 पर आ गया। व्यापक बाजार में बीएसई मिड कैप इंडेक्स में 0.52% की गिरावट रही और स्मॉल कैप इंडेक्स 0.77% के नुकसान के साथ बंद हुआ।
Key domestic stock indices lost more than 0.8% and ended in the red for the fifth day amid mixed cues from global share markets. The BSE Sensex closed below the 64,050 mark, while the NSE Nifty ended below the 19,130 level. The Sensex fell around 523 points, or 0.81%, to close at 64,049. The Nifty declined around 160 points, or 0.83%, to close at 19,122. In the broader market at the BSE, the mid-cap index fell 0.52% and the small-cap index slipped 0.77%. In the Sensex index, which is a pack of 30 companies, shares of 6 companies appreciated while 24 companies declined. Tata Steel gained 1.1%, SBI rose 0.6% and Mahindra & Mahindra added 0.5%. On the other hand, Infosys declined 2.8% and Bharti Airtel fell 1.9%. NTPC and IndusInd Bank both slipped 1.8%. In sectoral indices at the BSE, all sectors logged losses except the metal index, which rose 0.8%. Tech sector declined 1.4%. Telecommunication, industrials and utilities indices fell around 1.3%. The overall market breadth was negative as shares of 2,551 companies declined, while those of 1,140 companies gained. A total of 104 shares remained unchanged. So a change definitely from the Monday fall. Siddharth, there all companies had declined, and here we have some companies showing an increase. Wanting to specifically get your inputs on the mid-cap stocks. So is the March rally which had started, do you think it's taken its run?
I think whenever these kind of indices, when you see this kind of widespread fall in the market, I think the ones to take hit are the small cap and the mid caps. So I think, and we're seeing that trend here also. And probably as we see there's global uncertainty, the two big events already unfolding and uncertain, still uncertain, whether it is Ukraine, Russia or Israel, Hamas. And coupled with that, we have high crude oil prices already jumping close to 90. They're hovering around that level, sometimes crossing that, sometimes below 90. Plus another event which has added to all this is the high interest rates in US. So, and coupled with high inflation. So I think all that and global uncertainty, weak economic sentiment, all this is now putting pressure on the economic side of the globe. So I think we will see this kind of trend should, I don't know, I still feel it would be somewhere in this range, and I don't see a huge slip from here. But obviously, even last 4 trading sessions, market has gone down.
Right.
I think yesterday it was about 800 points. Today it's about again 500 points. So we are seeing but India as a story, fundamentally, I don't see anything much has changed. We are a big consumer economy, and I think our growth to a great extent currently is also fueled, or we are able to stabilize, is because of a huge consumer economy. So we are a big consumption driven economy, and
Right.
I think what is happening also is worldwide that things are yet to settle down. So all this kind of, we will see these kind of small bits and pieces in the market.
I think, and what you're saying, I think also adds to the fact that, and you've also been saying this earlier, that it's good to stay in the market, go for, solid companies, stay in the long run. These hiccups are not going to spook you as much as the market, which gets affected. So I think, again, for retail investors to say, it might be very exciting to dabble a lot, but stay sensible, and then you'll weather these storms a little better, because India is on a sound domestic front.
Yeah, our fundamentals are, there's no issue with that. We are, except inflation, I don't think we have anything negative. Obviously, oil prices do affect us. We have a guidance also. Inflation will take some time probably to moderate, and obviously these kind of global events are also impacting us. And for retail investors, as we always say, either you come through a systematic investment plan where you have an expert investing on your behalf, you remain invested for a long time. Obviously, even in last 2 months, we have seen retail investors coming into Indian markets in a big way. We've seen about 21,000 crores worth of retail buy.
Yes.
So I think yes, but then this is not the time to panic, because this is not something which is which is something which is occurring in India, which is centered in India, and our fundamentals continue to be strong. And so I don't see any reason for, obviously this fall is also coupled with because of the interest rates in US. So we have seen foreign institutional investors pulling out money, obviously, because US treasury bonds, one of the safest. You do not have currency hedge, because in India, if you're investing in India, anybody investing in India also runs the risk of exchange rate risk. So
Right.
that also, I think probably that is the reason why people may be probably in a short run maybe trying to withdraw money and put money in US treasury bonds, because 5% is a good return.
Right. And I also think that, somewhere like climate change is bringing in unpredictability and volatility in when it is going to rain, where times are changing. To say that this is the season, markets normally go up. World situation and circumstances are not what they were last year or the year before, because that volatility is there. And I think to keep abreast of all that, either you need, lots of staying power, or you need a lot of insight and the ability to, stay there for the long haul.
Absolutely, and I think one should not panic, because
Right.
panic is not going to help you in any way. And long term, I think prospects look good. India continues to be one of the fastest growing economy. We will be, I think, we will grow fastest, and by any measure we should be 6% plus. So there's no reason. Obviously, yes, even now we are not decoupled with the world. So any international, any global upheaval also impacts us. So I think it is all part of that. And
Don't look at your portfolio every day.
Obviously, that is retail investor need
Right,
not,
right.
and invest in, I would say, in good stocks. So
कौन से ऐसे सेक्टर्स आप देखते हैं जो कि अब जो गिरावट का जो हम देख रहे हैं तो दौर पिछले 3-4 दिन से, आने वाले समय में हम उसमें निवेश करें और एक अच्छा मुनाफा कमा सकें?
विशाल, देखिए, ये तो एक एक्सपर्ट के ऊपर छोड़ना चाहिए कि कौन से, बट मुझे लगता है हिंदुस्तान में ऐसे कई अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं, अच्छी कंपनियां हैं, बड़ी कंपनियां हैं, जिनको आप अगर किसी एक्सपर्ट से थोड़ी मदद लें तो आपको, मुझे लगता है, अच्छी राय मिलेगी। और मुझे नहीं लगता कि कोई ऐसी मतलब इमीडिएट कोई कंसर्न है हिंदुस्तान की अर्थव्यवस्था को लेके। हाँ, इन्फ्लेशन ज़रूर हमारा ज़्यादा है, लेकिन अगर आप दुनिया के इन्फ्लेशन से कंपेयर करेंगे तो आपका इन्फ्लेशन अभी भी बहुत कम है। हम मतलब 6-7% इन्फ्लेशन पे बहुत चिंता व्यक्त करते हैं, बट अगर आप दुनिया में, अगर दूसरे देशों में देखें तो ऐसी कोई चिंता की बात नहीं है।
और अब रुपए के प्रदर्शन पर नजर डाल लेते हैं। विदेशी मुद्रा बाजार में आज रुपया एक अमेरिकी डॉलर की तुलना में 83 रुपये 18 पैसे प्रति डॉलर के स्तर पर बंद हुआ। दुनिया की 6 प्रमुख मुद्राओं की तुलना में डॉलर की मजबूती दर्शाने वाला डॉलर इंडेक्स दिन के कारोबार में 106.45 पर कारोबार कर रहा था। बात वैश्विक शेयर बाजारों की। सबसे पहले एशियाई शेयर बाजार। एशियाई शेयर बाजारों में आज कारोबार मिला जुला रहा। जापान की निकेई में 0.7% की बढ़त दर्ज हुई। हांगकांग के हैंगसेंग में 0.5% की तेजी रही और चीन का शंघाई कंपोजिट इंडेक्स 0.4% लाभ में रहा। वहीं दूसरी तरफ दक्षिण कोरिया का कोस्पी 0.9% फिसल गया और सिंगापुर का स्ट्रेट्स टाइम्स इंडेक्स 0.2% की गिरावट के साथ बंद हुआ। उधर यूरोपीय शेयर बाजारों में अंतर्दिवसीय कारोबार के दौरान मामूली बढ़त का रुख था। जर्मनी का डैक्स 0.1% और लंदन का फुट्सी 100 0.2% की बढ़त में चल रहे थे। हालांकि फ्रांस का कैक 40 बिना किसी उतार चढ़ाव के सपाट कारोबार कर रहा था।
All three major US indices ended higher yesterday amid a spate of solid corporate earnings and upbeat forecasts stoked investor risk appetite, sparking a broad rally. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 0.6%, the S&P 500 rose 0.7%, and the Nasdaq Composite Index surged 0.9%. So, Siddharth, the US markets and, of course, the Asian markets, international markets, rallying around. The US market showing an increase. FIIs have, of course, left the Indian market, and that was one reason why our stocks are falling. Why do you see this difference there here?
Very simply put, because obviously the bond yields, the interest rates are going up. So obviously investors are pulling out money from emerging economies, going back to their own shores. So I think so, and
home sweet home.
Yeah, and that happens every time. And I think probably they're just trying to secure their investment. Since the bond yields have gone up, so wants to fix that money at that rate, and then probably again come back.
Right. So just a question about the rupee, and I think we've also seen these news items which say that the rupee volatility is held at a multi-year low despite worldwide jitters, and so in developing economies, we still have RBI have a central bank policy, the way they have actually decided things. That has been very wise and prudent, you feel now, in retrospect?
Yes, our central bank, see, if you listen to the central bank, each time the governor or the deputy governor monetary policy talks, the policy is very clear that we do not intervene in the market or artificially. We're just there to see that rupee is not volatile. There are not sharp ups and downs. So they want to keep it in a very orderly fashion. So orderly movement of rupee. So any volatility, sharp volatility, obviously RBI intervenes, it sells or whatever the reason is. And another reason, Gaura, you would also appreciate is that India currently has a huge forex reserve. We are close upwards of around $500 billion. So it also gives us the firepower to our own Indian central bank to intervene if required, if there is any sharp volatility in our rupee, so in the currency, and plus you would appreciate India is kind of a good investment haven. Money, large investments coming into India, so that is also kind of giving India a stable currency. And obviously the management by our central bank, each time they buy when they see or they sell at whatever juncture, but there is no artificial. We have never artificially calibrated our currency.
So that is a strength.
That's a big positive.
Right. Quick look at the oil prices. Crude oil prices rose marginally amid concerns. And quickly before we move on to gold and silver, crude oil prices stabilizing?
I don't know. That's very difficult to say because it will all depend on how things unfold in the next few days as far as Israel and Hamas, because things still look uncertain.
Right.
और MCX में दिसंबर अनुबंध वाला सोना आज 60,621 रुपये प्रति 10 ग्राम के स्तर पर कारोबार कर रहा था। चांदी दिसंबर अनुबंध वाली की वायदा कीमतें 221 रुपये टूटकर 71,565 रुपये प्रति किलोग्राम के स्तर पर चल रही थीं। सिद्धार्थ सिंह, आप कार्यक्रम में शामिल हुए और इतनी उपयोगी चर्चा की, इसके लिए आपका धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you. Before we close, a quick look at the headlines. Union Cabinet approves nutrition-based subsidy for Rabi season 23-24. Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs approves inclusion of Jamrani Dam multipurpose project of Uttarakhand under Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. And key domestic indices end in the red. Sensex closes below 64,050 mark. Nifty ends below 19,130 level. And that's all for today. Namaskar.
Market Mantra. Market Mantra. Market Mantra. Market Mantra. Market Mantra.
This is Akashvani, the news read by Nobanita Adhikari. The government has approved nutrient-based subsidy NBS rates for the current Rabi season on phosphatic and potassic fertilizers. Addressing the media after a cabinet meeting this afternoon, Union Minister Anurag Singh Thakur said the NBS will be 47.02 rupees per kilo for nitrogen, 20.82 rupees per kilo for phosphorus,